Apple TV Plus has been one of the best streaming services on the market. Between shows like Shrinking, Severance, Mythic Quest, and Ted Lasso, they have been just knocking it out of the park. And then along comes this movie. So, Tetris is an Apple Plus original film starring Taron Egerton, and I'm a big Taron Egerton fan. I've loved him since the Kingsman movies. He was great in Eddie the Eagle. Pretty much any role he's been in. Rocket Man as Elton John. He was fantastic. He is one of my favorite actors on the planet, and he delivers in this movie. Now, the story here, and it would sound very silly and like it's all made up, but it's based on a true story, which means... Sure, I bet you a lot of this stuff is probably made up, but I'm sure there's some kernels of truth to a lot of it. And we'll talk about some of that maybe a little later. Taron Egerton plays Hank Rogers, who is like a video game designer. He's got his own company, and he stumbles upon this game called Tetris at an expo, which makes him think that this is the next big game to be, sent out worldwide, hit all platforms and whatnot. So he's trying to figure out a way to make money because he wants to get the rights to put it on arcade systems, put it on the Nintendo systems, put it on computer systems. He just wants to find a way to get this game out there, but it's a little more complicated than that. This quickly becomes a thriller drama because there's just so much backdoor dealing, like in terms of this game, that you would think it wouldn't be this complicated of a story, but it involves the Russian government. It involves several different video game companies trying to get the rights to Tetris, and even if a kernel of this stuff is true, it is all completely fascinating. And and the point of reviewing this and giving this a grade at the end isn't to say how accurate of a story it is to the real life story, because I don't really know the real life story. I know I've read a couple things even from the real life Tetris creators, or at least the character Taron Egerton plays in this. At least from them, a couple of things that might have been exaggerated in the film, which tends to happen with a Hollywood movie. But, so when I'm grading this, it's not the accuracy, like I said, but the way they tell this story is awesome. It is, from start to finish, just a little under 2 hours, and it is riveting every step of the way. Just when you think, well, what more is there to this story? How more complicated could it get? And it just unravels and becomes a little more involved in the backdoor dealings that governments and companies had to do in order to get this game out there. And it's just utterly fascinating. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen the entire time. It looks gorgeous. I've been really skeptical about some of the Apple TV movies they've been releasing, but this one is probably one of the first Apple TV Plus original movies I've actually dug quite a bit. A lot, actually. I've actually, since watching that, I kind of want to watch it again. It is a pity, though, that this isn't in theaters, because this is one of the best films you're going to see this year, and it's not getting a theatrical release where it should be making some decent money. Because, yeah, you see the trailer, you hear the premise, and you don't think it could work, but this totally works. And the film I can compare that to, and it definitely gave me a lot of these vibes toward the end of the film, is Argo, which won Best Picture back in 2012, 2013. I think it came out in 2012, won in 2013. Don't at me in the comments because I'm just thinking of that at the top of my head. But anyway, so it gives me some Argo vibes where, yeah, you could tell it's a true story. And there's all this exaggerated stuff. Of course, the exaggerated stuff, I think, comes in the form of your typical Hollywood car chase sequence. There is a scene towards the end of the movie which is very reminiscent of Argo, by the way, which isn't a big deal. It just made me think of that at the end. And it's not a bad thing. I think it works. It heightens the drama of the film. And it blew me away how good and how entertained I was by this from start to finish. I don't think there was a second or a frame that needed to be cut. They use really cool graphics, like the 2-bit graphics, like you're watching a Game Boy screen or a Nintendo screen, and it's all the blocky pixelated graphics. So they use those to good effect. I think those are fun. They kind of segment the film off into about 4 parts, and they use a graphic every time. They introduce the main characters by a player 1, player 2, and they kind of do the same cool graphics for different characters. So they really thought a lot with this movie, and I think it's really creative, it's really fun, and it's really engaging, and it'll keep you glued to the screen the entire time you're watching it. I'm very pleasantly pleasantly surprised to be giving this the best grade I've given a film this year, which is a solid A. Is it going to be the best film at the end of the year? I don't know. I doubt it, but it gets an A. It's the first film I've given an A to since, I think, Everything Everywhere All at Once last year. I've been really stingy with giving an A, but this just, it did it for me. Every aspect of this, the acting from Taryn Egerton all the way through that cast is awesome. The direction, the storytelling, the editing, the music. The music is fantastic. I'm about to go buy that soundtrack like right now. It is great. The score is fantastic, and I just think it's a good time. It is a great like thriller, drama, comedy. It's kind of all wrapped into one, and Taron Egerton will keep you glued to that screen the entire time. He's just that interesting from start to finish. This whole film is interesting and fun from start to finish. I highly recommend it. If you don't have Apple TV Plus, I believe it's only $6.99. I think $6.99 a month. I'm sure a lot of you could get free trials. Do it for this film. I promise you, while your results may vary, I can't guarantee you'll love it, but I think this is one that a lot of people will thoroughly enjoy, especially since most of you out there don't like going to the theater anyway to see a movie. Here you go. Here's a great film to watch at home without leaving the comfort of your home. So, yeah, guys, I love this movie. It was so good. I'm just worried that I'm never going to be able to own this on a Blu-ray or whatever, but I guess that's just my problem. But what do you guys think? Were you interested in seeing Tetris? Did you think it was a silly idea? Let me know. Let me know down in the comments below. Also, guys, if you could hit that thumbs up button, if you could please also leave a comment, if you could subscribe, and if you could please hit that little bell notification to be notified whenever I drop new movie reviews, because we got quite a few more coming in the next 5-6 days. Whew. We're not done yet, but should have another one up in a couple days, going to a fun screening of Air tomorrow night, and then going to Super Mario Brothers middle of next week. I'm very excited about that. And until next time, guys, I'll be seeing you.